Welcome to the Audio Spells production of Journeys of the Astropaths, Michael. I'm Robin, and we are ecstatic to bring you this show. Please help us grow by subscribing, 5-star reviews, liking, sharing, and commenting wherever you enjoy your podcasts. For more information and our full credits, please visit www.theastropaths.com or search Journeys of the Astropaths on Facebook. And now, let us cast you a spell.
I still haven't gotten to sleep. It's the middle of the afternoon now, but I still don't feel like dreaming. I tried again, after my last recording session, to lay down and shut my eyes, but for some reason, I can't find sleep. Maybe it's still a bit of the excitement of the Vegas poker game, although that's kind of my usual night. Or, I think more likely, it's delving into the memories of my first days under Marlow's tutelage. But I've had a couple glasses of wine to curve the edges, so I'm guessing I won't make it too much longer without collapsing into a major siesta. If all you hear is my snoring, or my voice simply cracks and goes away, consider the session done. So I left us, in the bathroom cubicle. We stepped out of the stall, and of course, there was a guy waiting to use it. He tried to act as if he'd seen two guys coming out of a bathroom stall a few hundred times. And then again, we were in New York Central Station, so probably wasn't his first time seeing it. Marlow walked to the sink to wash his hands. Well, it is proper etiquette, he said. And with that, I joined him. It just seems wrong to walk out of a men's room without washing up. He stepped out into the chaos of a weekday morning in one of the world's busiest train centers. Every walk of life was represented, and everyone seemed to be in a hurry or lost, and a gawking tourist or a stoic stone-faced New Yorker or a frantic business person or a loafer on a day off. It was really the oddest blend of opposites. Now, choose any three and gather their information, and meet me at the coffee shop there, Marlow said before disappearing in a swarm of people. Now, reading people at this point still seemed very difficult to me. I looked at the faces of the many passers-by and felt nothing about them or had any idea what may be lurking behind their eyes. I took a deep breath and just went for it, stepping in front of a man dressed for work. His eyes met mine as he tried to slip around me. This time, I verbalized silently in my own head exactly what I wanted. What is your name? Where do you live? And where are you from? Oddly, I heard his name whispered in a memory. A female voice said, Thomas Layton. And then I heard what I could only assume was his own voice, as if replying to a question asked by a tax clerk, 155 South Bulker, Pittsburgh, PA. And just before he stepped around me, I received a silent thought, Jacksonville, Florida. But even after he got around me and took a few steps away, I kept receiving his thoughts. He was thinking about his cluttered work desk, the emails he needed to send, the meeting he had coming up at lunch. I had to shake my head and focus to terminate our connection. Telepathically, I recalled the information to Marlow. A good start. 2 more, he encouraged. Feeling pleased with myself, I turned to the next person coming past me. But I had not prepared my questions when I looked into the eyes of a woman dressed for a night out, sexy, in a knee-length black dress and high heels. Her makeup a bit faded. She was mid-30s, although the bags under her eyes, tells of a sleepless night, made her look older. Without my focus, her thoughts flooded me. God, she thought, why do I always see guys like this when I look like shit? Damn, he's got the kindest eyes. Can't be from New York. He's actually made eye contact. He must think I'm a complete slut. Walk of shame through GSS. Damn it. I stepped in her way. You look lovely, I said. She stopped. Do I know you? She snapped. Don't just assume because I'm dressed like this that anyone can just talk to me. But she was thinking, why can't I run into a guy like this when I'm dressed for work, or for the park, or for yoga class or something? Then she crooked her neck to one side, her glower trying to ward me off. I just smiled at her. Excuse me, you just look attractive and I wanted to tell you that. I moved aside to let her pass. Have a great day. You are not from New York, are you? She said. She was thinking, I hope he asked for my number. No, just visiting. Could I call you? I replied. She feigned anger, but while she bit at her lip, her eyes narrowed momentarily, her thoughts excited at the notion. I'm not easy or trampy or something. Just missed my train home last night, she lied. 212-545-2992 is my office. Ask for Miss Denson. I'm Joanne. Michael, I stated. She turned to go, but I kept reading her. She was recalling the disappointment of the previous night, how her date had drunk too much, and most of the evening she'd taken care of him in the bathroom, how her knees hurt from kneeling next to him, and how it was their second date and she'd been hoping for sex, but when he was sober enough, she'd been far too disgusted by his vomiting to reignite any kind of attraction. Michael, Marlow said sternly, taking grip of my arm and breaking my connection to her. You were way off on that one. Well, not too far off. I mean, I made a friend. He sighed, realizing the kind of guy I was and the kind of student I was going to be. Let's go home for now. It was a good start. Well, my information gathering exercise at Grand Central Station was scored a 1 out of 3. I'm no mathematician, but that's not passing. I argued that I did get the name and phone number of my second reading, but Marlow was having none of that, as he scolded me that I had a task to complete but changed the desired result. I also scored very low on stamina, as just after my second reading I was already feeling my energy ebb. We need more preparation, Marlow declared, before leading me to the men's room again so that we could return to his home. I felt like a chastised schoolboy when I returned to my body and sat up. But Marlow wasn't one for taking things personal. He'd given me a task to see how I would do and what I'd do. My performance was, in his eyes, just the starting place for his training. Drink lots of fruit juice and eat some fruit and snacks, Marlow said, reaching the counter and pouring himself a glass of apple juice. Astral projection makes you tired, he continued, dehydrated and hungry. I find fruits offer a bit of healthy sugar, and the juice rehydrates for the energy you need, sleep or more qigong, or both. We chatted while we snacked. So any questions? He began. Yes, the toilet. I mean, men's room stall. Really? We got all this power, and yet we're projecting to a toilet cubicle? He framed his chin with his thumb and index finger, a pose he often took while thinking. Simplicity. There are no security cameras in bathrooms or broom closets. Of course, if you're not going to such a big public place, like when we went for dinner in India, a nearby alley or dim-lit street will suffice. So, the seamless life you talked about is to appear in places without appearing in places, all in the effort to go unnoticed, I asked. Yes, it's vital, he said. Safe place to hide your body, unnoticed in our travels and dealings, and with nobody the wiser, we can live remarkable lives. Thriving in this world is not hard with the kind of information we can gather. But draw attention to yourself, and the world can be treacherous, and its human inhabitants vicious. A red light flashed on the counter, interrupting our conversation. Marlow walked to the counter and pushed an intercom button. Yes? Katharina's voice filled the room. Doctor, your guest has arrived. He's waiting in your drawing room. Michael, go on up to the library. The guest is actually for you. I've got something to attend to on the other side of the world. I'll be back in an hour or so, Marlow said over his shoulder to me. Then back into the intercom, he said, have him meet Michael in the library. I went up, leaving Marlow to his travels. Just as I'd cleared the hatch and it had closed behind me, a rather plump man in a worn tweed suit arrived. Around his lapel was a looped measuring tape, and he had a small leather bag in his right hand. You must be Michael, he said with a deep smoker's voice, adjusting his thick, square glasses with his left index finger and taking a good look at me. I nodded yes. I'm Andrew, Dr. Pregonius's tailor. I need to get some measurements so I can stock your wardrobe. I had not been measured by a professional before. I had been measured by Miss Carlson during my one-time only stint as a thespian. All a ruse to meet Jane Lufer, a troubled, mysterious, and artsy high school senior when I was a sophomore, who reputedly put out to some lucky guy at nearly every rap party and always to some nobody with a small part because they probably worshipped her. I was measured to fit my guard number 3 costume for the play Spartacus. Miss Carlson, Mindy, was a newlywed, a tall, ever-tan former ski instructor who only 6 or so years earlier had been the queen of the theater clique at good old Gateway High. I was so nervous to have her probing my body with that tape measure, I may have been trembling. But she was quick, and since my costume was pretty stock issue anyway, she got what she needed, and I walked away relieved I hadn't embarrassed myself. Andrew was very meticulous with his measurements. He wrote nothing down, just looked at his tape and nodded when he was happy, and that was that. Thank you, sir, he said when he had finished. I'll rush this, and you should have a well-stocked closet by week's end. Oh, that was painless, I said. Certainly. Now, speaking of pain, please extend your hand to me like this, Andrew said, putting his hand up as if he was going to testify in court. I mirrored him. He measured my middle finger to the base of my wrist. Okay, he said, you can relax. He reached into his bag, retrieving a leather fold and rolling it out onto the tabletop. Within this roll was a number of knives. Considering your hand size and your waist, I'm going to design your trouser sheath for this one. He slipped out a long, double-edged dagger with a gray handle. He offered it to me by gripping the blade with his fingers and turning the handle to me. I don't know much, but it looks good, I said, taking the handle and feeling the blade's weight. It's lighter than it looks. Oh, yes, sir. I handed it back to him with the same technique. Thank you. He packed up and departed. He and Katharina seemed choreographed. As he exited, she entered. She was holding a wooden tray. I baked some brownies. Would you like some coffee or tea to go with them? Chocolate almond is my favorite. Oh, Dr. Pregonius informed me. I took the tray from her after giving her a smile and a thank you. Next to the plate full of brownie squares was a Denver Post newspaper folded in half. Oh, Dr. Pregonius had me bring in your local newspaper. I almost said, I didn't know these still existed. I mean, I'd never gotten my news from anything but my phone. But this was a nice gesture, so I simply smiled even wider and thanked her again. If you don't need a drink, I'll leave you to your paper. Enjoy. The brownies were scrumptious, thick, fresh, and the almonds lightly roasted. Of course, Marlow had read my mind, so that my secret treat preference had been discovered, but I was getting pretty used to him living in there at this point. When I unfolded the newspaper, the front page gave me a shock. Local police officer discovers 4 bodies in abandoned home. The photograph was of a dilapidated house in North Denver with several police officers and emergency crews at work. But as I read the article about the incident, my eyes quickly floated down to an embedded photo of Officer Sanchez. Okay, this story is getting a bit long and I really am exhausted. I'll continue this after I get some Z's.